Getting back to business after the quick little pit stop known as episode 3, it's time to continue on with the sim here in this fantasy draft. Of course, we have control of the St. Louis Blues, and looking at the team, obviously some things could go a little bit, better. We could be better in certain spots. As far as Jonathan Huberdeau, because somebody brought this up in the comment section, as far as Huberdeau being on the second line, I just want to keep him there because he's a low elite, and that's a mystery as to whether or not that's going to pan out. And Evander Kane has 19 points so far. Lee Stempniak on the second line. I was very tempted to go out and find somebody else, and we could, but he is technically a second line forward, and he has good stats, basically. That's the word I'm trying to think of. So we could definitely go out and try to get somebody better. And the fact that Patrick Marleau is 37, but the biggest area of concern is defense right now, especially with Dan Girardi having dropped in overall. So I think we are going to use our biggest bartering piece right now, that being Carter Hart, to go out and get a defenseman. Now that said, Carter Hart doesn't have the best value in the world, so we cannot go out and get an elite defenseman for that. I mean, we could, maybe, if we were to tack on like a first or a second round pick, but I don't want to give up a first or a second round pick this early on in the series. So what we're going to do is I have a certain defenseman in mind from the Ottawa Senators. His name is Adam Larsson. He's 24 and 86 overall, and we will see if he can progress to be just a little bit better. Now, we are going to be able to hopefully get a second round pick back. I'm just not sure. We'll go for Detroit's. Let's see. Will that go outright? Is the question. Sweeten it just a touch. Okay, now what is just a touch by their logic? Is a fourth round pick just a touch? Nope, that's even more. God, I'd love to have that second round pick, but I don't want to give up anything better. So we will go with their next 2 third-round picks, and that fourth, will that go through? That will not go through. Okay. Now, see, I could have done this beforehand, but I just, whatever. It is what it is. 2 third-round picks and Adam Larsson for Carter Hart and Dan Girardi. That will not go through. Okay. Let's add a 6th-round pick. Will that work? It will not. Jesus Christ, you stingy bastards. 5th-round pick. No, you motherfuckers. 4th-round pick, please. Please. Thank you. I'm all right with that trade. Carter Hart, Dan Girardi, and a 4th-round pick for Adam Larsson and 2 thirds. I honestly probably wouldn't have made that trade if Dan Girardi hadn't dropped an overall, which, is kind of my fault, but he is here now, and that gives the defense a little bit of a better look, at least now that we have somebody who has potential, considering our 2 youngest guys prior to that are both 29 years old. It actually puts Huberdeau by default, but we need Patrick Laine in that spot. We're going to keep these lines the same until the game really gives me a reason to change them. We'll double check to make sure Carey Price is in, even though Antoniemi has been great so far this year, as we have seen. We actually have the champion tag when you go to actually make trades, which is pretty goddamn crazy. But we are getting back into the normal swing of things here. We are going to sim through the entire month of December, and we will see if we can still be in playoff contention by the time we get to January 1st, and we'll see how far we make it. We won't go beyond the trade deadline, just in case we want to make some last-second moves. But let's not waste any more time. December, please be kind to us. Now, we are rejoining this just a little bit earlier than originally planned. A 22-12-1 record, including a win over the Dallas Stars, who are still absolutely tearing it up. But so far, so good from this team. We are in second place in our division, 4 points above the Colorado Avalanche. But I wanted to show you guys that, this team is getting it done. Evander Kane, I believe, has gone up an overall point. He is doing fantastic so far this year. Jack Eichel's up to an 89. He's doing well. Patrick Laine doing well. And when we go best lines, it actually puts Laine there instead of Huberdeau. Speaking of which, isn't having a bad year. Tyler Bozak, we've been running with on the second line. He and Marleau have done all right. Marleau's been a little bit disappointing. You could even argue that we should have Lee Stempniak there. And the point totals for the fourth line doesn't really matter. But Adam Larsson is up to an 87. He's having a pretty decent season. Of course, he is more of a defensive defenseman. And Carey Price has turned it around to 918. Still not ideal. And the Emmy still rocking a 944. In the AHL, though, Timo Meier's gone up an overall point. Ty Rattie has made some pretty strong progress so far this year. And defensively, Jacob Larsson is up to an 82, as is Eric Jelena. They are both right there. So overall, not a bad start to this season at all. Louis Domingue thriving in the AHL as you would expect him to. So let's keep moving forward here. And actually, since I'm going to probably sim into January, let's take a look at the league-wide point totals very quickly, just because I'm interested. But yeah, Kane and Eichel, the Buffalo connection, getting it done for us so far. But throughout the league, Joe Pavelski with 46 points leads the way. Crosby's there, Atkinson up there on Florida. I imagine he plays with Crosby. The rookie scoring, it's another interesting race to keep our eyes on. Mitch Marner leading the way, but it's a two-horse race right now between Mitch Marner and Patrick Laine. Of course, some other names are up there. Austin Matthews in Edmonton. I mean, that's going to be a scary thought. Austin Matthews in Edmonton. But let's get back into the sim here, and hopefully it can continue to go as well as it has so far. Of course, only 35 games in. We got a long way to go, but hopefully this team just continues to improve. We will sim to the All-Star game on January 29th. Let's see what happens. Another quick interruption here, guys. Now, we've had some injury trouble. Andy Green went down with the leg injury, so we called up Jacob Larsson to get some playing time. Larsson's been hurt, so we called up a different defenseman. Mikhail Sergachev is in the lineup, not for long, I assume, but he will be getting some ice time, and of course, we don't have to worry about waivers, but who knows? Maybe he will just play out of his mind, and he'll take over David Schlemko's spot. Let's find out. So, another quick update. Jack Eichel's up to a 90, and Mikhail Sergachev has jumped from a 79 to an 81 in 4 games. He absolutely has to stay in this lineup. The problem is pretty much everybody's playing well, but David Schlemko is going to have to be the sacrifice because Jacob Larsson is back, and I want him in the lineup as well. So we're going to have Larsson play with Ben Lovejoy. Sergachev will play... Actually, let's have Sergachev with Lovejoy, and we'll have Larsson with Kevin Miller. And maybe we will take a look at trading David Schlemko, but so far, so good. It's unbelievable. He's jumped 2 overall points in 4 games. What more needs to be said? Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks insane, and it is, but we're not done yet making the trade. With the emergence of Larsson and Sergachev, I just can't send either of those guys back down, particularly sending Sergachev back to junior. So what we are going to try and do here is get an improvement. Yes, Markov's 38 years old, but he is an improvement. And that would leave Markov, Larsson, and Sergachev on defense. So hopefully we can move out Andy Green, Boscheman, and Schlemko, get a temporary improvement. And then, of course, Larsson and Sergachev, based on their progression already this year, will be legitimate NHLers, no doubt about it, next season. So let's see if we can tack on some draft picks here to make this trade a little bit more balanced. And that's the thing, too. Dallas, as we know, aren't a great, or, no, Jesus. that's the opposite of what I wanted to say. They're a great team this year, so their draft picks won't be worth much, but we should be able to make this work, and that actually might go through. So I'm going to tack on a fifth, just as kind of a tester, and it actually went through anyway. So we probably could have gotten more for them, but Andy Green, Francois Beauchemin, and David Schlemko are off to Dallas, our biggest rival. For Andrei Markov, we also take a hell of a lot of draft picks from them, but screw it, it's a fantasy draft. It's not about realism, and we have an interesting defense at this point. We will go through here, and let's go best lines for the moment. So it's now Markov and Larson, who is up to an 88. That trade for Carter Hart is already working out for us. And then defensively, we'll have Sergachev and Lovejoy with Larson and Miller. And then in the future, of course, it'll be Sergachev as our just the rock of this franchise with Larson right there, and then whoever else in the future. I think we're in a pretty good spot. We have draft picks. Let's see what happens as far as their progression goes. Now, as we approach the All-Star break and actually more than likely the end of the episode here, we get a waiver claim for Joakim Ryan, a decent defenseman on an entry-level deal, AHL high top 2. You never know. We might as well claim him, especially considering that our AHL team has taken a little bit of a weird hit because of a ton of injuries. I forgot already who was claimed off of waivers. That happened forever ago. The name is right there. I just cannot think of who it was. And the main reason we went to edit the rosters is that Jonathan Huberdeau has actually missed a little bit of time, but it's looking like he is ready to come back. So Connor Brickley will be sent back down. And of course, after we hit the All-Star break here, we will take a look at player stats for our team and throughout the league. We need to make sure. Best lines has actually put Larson ahead of Sergachev on prior occasions. So that is what we are going to do. Let's get Connor Brickley back into the lineup. We'll put him, where do we want to put him? Yeah, we'll put him on the second line. That's fine. And then Ben Blood, hell of a name. We'll get him out of the lineup for Ryan, who, of course, we just claimed, and he'll actually go right into play with Morgan Ellis. So fingers crossed here in the last game of this episode that nobody gets injured again as we play the Minnesota Wild. Fingers crossed, no injuries. I'm begging you. Fucking hell. I knew it. Tyler Bozak goes down to injury because of course he does. And enjoy Menu Simulator because that's what you're getting. For the next few minutes, we will call up Chris Wagner. Zach Dalpe has had some call-ups due to injury. Like I said, there's been a shitload of injuries. I don't know how long this episode will be and how far into the episode will be as you're hearing me talk. But in real life, it's been almost an hour. So that's a lot of editing because there have been a shitload of injuries. Combine that with the trade attempts. But that's all good because we're having fun because the Blues are playing well and things are going our way so far, aside from those injuries. We'll keep those lines set up like that. Let's just get to the All-Star break. We'll take a look at the stats. But we finished with a 29-18 and 2 record. Pretty damn good. And the Chicago Wolves are 29-13 and 4. So both teams having success early on this year. It is only good enough for second place. What was at one point a 3-team race, the Nashville Predators have caught up, and we are only 3 points ahead of them in Colorado. 12 points behind the Dallas Stars. But a 90 offense, 92 defense, and 95 goaltending. That, of course, is without Bozak. And in the AHL, 79, 80, and 81. Not too bad. Let's take a look at some stats and how some players are performing. Evander Kane is our leading scorer with 48 points in 49 games. Unbelievable. I agree. Jeff Skinner could have been a hell of a pick. I am very happy with with Evander Kane. Right now, Jack Eichel not too far behind, 46 points in 49 games. Unbelievable. And Patrick Laine with 43. That top line is playing tremendously. Jonathan Huberdeau with 36 points in 47 games, not too bad. Bozak with 35 is also pretty solid. Marlowe's broken 30. Stempniak at 26. We could still look for an improvement if we wanted to. But, if he can hit 40, I'll be happy. If Stempniak, if Vermette could hit 30, I would have been happy. He's on pace to do that, as is Nestrasil. Trevor Lewis, who's been on the third and fourth line all year, 19 points. Jay Beagle on the fourth line with 15. Adam Larson so far this year, 10 points. He's a plus 23. Andrei Markov, he's a plus 13. Markov is a plus 23, which is pretty crazy. Ryan Reeves with 10 points. And then it falls off a bit from there. As I said, Dalpe got a little bit of playing time. He hasn't done too much. Connor Brickley has started in 4 games. Larson now 9 games. He is a plus 2. Sergachev, 11 games, yet to register his first point. He is a minus 3. But overall, I'm happy. Could we still improve the team? Yes, we could, but it's just a matter of what we want to give up. And obviously, right now, we don't have any medium-range prospects. It's pretty much just all high-end prospects and draft picks, which you guys know me. For the first few years, I love to hoard draft picks as much as possible. Carey Price isn't playing at his best, but he has a really isn't playing at his best. 20-16-2 on the year with a .919 save percentage. And the Emmy playing very well. That happened to be a good free agent pickup. Louis Domingue has played every game for the Chicago Wolves. He's having a great year. Could be in contention for the goalie of the season. And down in the AHL, Eric Jelena doing well, but aside from that, like I said, we don't really have any major prospects. Larson had played pretty well. Ty Ratty has 40 points in 46 games. He might make the NHL at some point. Teemu Pulkkinen doing well. Nosen doing pretty good, as is Meyer. Like I said, we have some decent names, but none that are going to be worth a tremendous amount, as I did not mean to hit the back button. But I will show you guys as we wrap this up the trade values one more time, because yes, as nice as it would be to go out and get players, when it's on hard difficulty, it can be a pain in the ass to get teams to give up solid players when they don't want to get rid of them. No doubt about that. But skipping over to the NHL now, let's take a look. Patrick Kane leads the league with 65 points. Not too bad at all as you get a look at some of the top players. Rookie skaters, Patrick Laine has stormed past Mitch Marner. He's got an 8-point lead. But not too bad. Patrick Laine leads rookie scoring. He won the Calder in the Bruins series and could win the Calder again. Mitch Marner, though, is up to an 86. Not too bad. And Austin Matthews there as well. And I just realized Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk are both on the Oilers. Not a bad set of prospects for Edmonton. But quickly now, because I don't want this episode to go on for too much longer, let's take a look at the trade values, because as nice as it would be to have somebody better than Bozak or Lee Stempniak, we don't necessarily need to rush into it. Centers, you got to look at these trade values. We have Howden and Glenn Gaudin. We're not going to get too much from them. Even if we were to pair Tyler Bozak and those two prospects, we're not getting a legitimate second-line center for that. That's just not how it works. And I am very, very conservative with how much we give up in these trades. It has to make sense. Like the Markov trade makes sense. We get an improvement. All 3 defensemen, although granted David Schlemko isn't that old, but Andy Green is in his 30s. Beauchemin is in his mid to late 30s. So it just made sense. I am more than content to just sit back and see how this team does, because as we've seen, the playoffs are a different animal. We have Carey Price. Anything could happen once we get there, and potentially it's a close race right now. We could find ourselves outside the playoff structure by the end of the season, but as it stands right now, we're looking to be in playoff form, and we will see if that continues in the next episode as we will wrap up the Season 1 sim and we will take it from there. So as always, guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, of course, make sure to hit that like button to help support my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already to continue following this series and others, that being the Bruin series that is going on concurrently with this, as well as Bork's Battalion. You already know, most likely. Why would you be watching the 4th episode of something if you weren't subscribed? That's a bit weird. Go watch the first few episodes, you silly goose! I will see you all in the next one. Yeah. Boy, that's an all-star ending. Fucking hell.